All right, good morning, everybody. Keep an eye on this overnight fade potential because we do have a lot of one-directional price action here. Very bearish into the open. But we do have a little bit of a curl on the open. It's kind of curling back up a little bit. If you can stay above these prior 30-minute highs, above like 770 to 800, keep an eye on NASDAQ pushing against that overnight trend. And that same level on ES would be about like 705. Staying above 705 would push against that prevailing overnight trend. We are obviously in a pretty strong sell-off because the higher time frames are taking over. This is more of a daily move than it is a lower time frame move. And I'll talk about that here in a second. Let me pull up our trade plan really quick. Okay, to the upside, we're looking for 43 and 65. 43 is today's value high. We could look for 46, so it's a locked-in level. So we're not using a developing level there. So we'll look for 46 and then 65. And then holding below 700, which is the top of that node, we're going to look for 66 and 605. Alright, sorry guys, there you go. There's the trade plan. Keep an eye on this little overnight fade here, going against these 30-minute lows, retaking about 4 30-minute lows here. A little bit of a trap on this push down. We're obviously in a lowercase b here. You could consider it a capital B because we put so much volume on the bottom. But it's more so a lowercase b. So bearish bias as long as they protect that value high. You do have a bit of a rotation back to that value high currently. That value high might shift down to the lower node. So it should shift down to about where our trade plan level is. Kind of the top of that node. This is basically like we've been talking about for the last couple of days, probably the last couple of weeks, to be honest. It is the daily taking over. The higher time frames are taking over. We have lost the daily trail for the first time in months. We did try to lose it back in October, reclaimed it. We haven't really lost it since April. Lost a blue pivot for the first time in many months back in March. Put in a lower high on the daily, and obviously they are respecting that lower high by pushing down here. So, looking pretty bad. Higher time frame sellers starting to come back in. We have the weekly trail at around 23,880 and about 6,500 on ES. So if the daily trail continues to be lost, the weekly trail will be the obvious target. Right now we have a little bit of an overnight fade, guys. Keep an eye on these 30-minute highs from the overnight. We need to maintain above them, start squeezing out these late sellers, especially the sellers on the open. They are being a little trapped. Good morning, everybody. Want Itachi backpack and Lumir banana. Morris here is the trade plan for you guys. Good morning, Leo, Ordinary Future, Metis, Gunk AT, Astro, Adriana, Baja Sahan, Lucio, Jose, Roman, Greg, Marcel, Michael, Ganesh, Music. Good morning, Riso, JC, Lulu, Igor. A little bit of sell pressure on these 30-minute highs here. Trying to maintain that bearish trend. Good morning, eBay, Peter. 2, Farage, 2013, Larry, JC. Good morning, Crypto. Nitro, Mark, Tamer. Good morning, Orion, Vivian. Oh, you accidentally bought the wrong funding firm? Yeah, I can't really help you with that, man. CFDs are a little bit slower. They're about the same data as the CMEs, but it's obviously just like a different market. This is a different data point. If you're using TradingView, you can chart everything on the ES contracts with the CME data. You'll just have to buy the CME data, which I think is like $4 a month or something like that. Good morning, Tom. Good morning, Brad. Good morning, Nerd Ronaldo Power. A little bit of level 2 orders coming in here. Nothing too crazy. The liquidity is a little bit low. You're trading about 20 to 30 contracts per tick. CF red overnight. Yeah, it's almost a sell-only market where like everything is selling. You have like gold, Bitcoin, oil. Almost everything is selling. They're not establishing a ton of value on the high here. Most of the value is kind of in the overlapping range. They need to break this area and then establish a node above to threaten a lot of these sellers here. Come on, Joan. Keep an eye on these EMAs here. Keep an eye on VWAP. VWAP coming up at 858 on NQ and 714 on ES. So far, we are starting an overnight fade, but it's not very strong just yet. You have taken out a couple of candles. You have that little cupping pattern, and you're sweeping the overnight low. A little bit of a trap on the opening sellers. Keep an eye on VWAP. Here it comes. Come on, Ryder. 714 on ES. Liquidity is not terrible, but it's not very good. You're not seeing a ton of level 2 orders. It's not like the entire tape. Good morning, Albert. Here's that VWAP. You do have a lot of bearish delta coming in, but it's mostly from block trades being skewed a little bit. There are no settings for VWAP. It's either starting at 9:30 a.m. Eastern or starting at 6 p.m. Eastern the prior day. No other settings for VWAP should be changed. Good morning, Albert. Very one-directional here, holding above the ADMA pretty much every candle, damn near one time framing on the 1 minute as well, breaking every prior bar high. That initial sell-off was a pretty strong trap. You had a couple of pivots down there. You had a 1 minute pivot on ES and NASDAQ, pretty much right at the open, like 9:34. Turned into a 5-minute pivot. You had a 15-minute pivot as well, a little bit early, around 7:45, so that was kind of a sweeping pivot. 30-minute pivot as well, hard to see, but also at 92. So a lot of pivots down there. A lot of pivots on the low there. So a lot of buyer delta, a lot of buy volume coming in, kind of flipping you up. Yeah, I cover all the VWAP stuff and the indicators videos. So if you guys have any questions about that, if your settings are messed up or something, just watch that video. I think it's the, what is it, the third part of the new series? Delta is looking a little bit weird here because of those block trades. It's pretty heavily skewed. Keep an eye on that value high around 733. Then we have the value low of yesterday around 746. If we start holding above like 50, then you're looking for that retrace of yesterday. Now that would be a pretty big move, so I don't know if we're going to get that today. This could also be just a gap fill, and everything below the gap is kind of a trap here. So we have to watch that gap around 227 on NASDAQ, and that gap is 65 on ES. You're already down about 200 points from that value flip that we were talking about back around the 70s. They're battling over this node here. You can see they keep rotating back and forth. You have bearish delta below, bullish delta above. They haven't really decided who is controlling this node. It's slightly bearish. It's hanging out on the bottom side of the node a bit more. You just need to see more bullish delta build up on the high here. Yeah, it's a little crazy today, Tamer, for sure. Especially on a Friday. I forgot the gap level on NASDAQ. It's a bit above. I think it's like a few hundred points. Yeah, 227. It's not a gap anymore. It's just the old gap. The same gap we've been talking about for the last like week or so with the refill. We had to fill it into the downside. This is Addis. I think it's like the second or third link down below. Yeah, I'd say that's within margin today, Roman, because the ATR is so damn high. I mean, look at our A session. It's absolutely ridiculous. The A session is, what, 50 points already? So yeah, I'd say 4 points is probably fine. All right, closing an extremely wide A session. The volatility is quite high right now. The delta is nowhere near price. Delta is trending down, price is trending up. It's mostly skewed by these block trades, very large block trades coming in. Want to use one of Trevor? Getting a lot of action from the large traders today, obviously, because like we talked about, the daily's kind of taken over. A lot of block trades. Keep an eye on VWAP, might re-lose it, create a little bit of a trap. It would be quite a large trap because the POC is above VWAP. Yeah, hybrid. There's a few videos. There's the indicators video in my new series, the Becoming an Apex Trader playlist. There's also an order flow playlist that has like 3 or 4 videos that cover all the indicators. And I will be making another one that should be coming out next Wednesday or Thursday. That'll be the final video in the Apex Traders series. And that's going to be going over Addis and order flow and stuff like that. Yeah, there's quite a few videos on the channel that cover it. What, Mauricio? Yeah, UFC should be really good, man. It's a big card, probably one of the biggest cards in quite a while. Probably one of the largest cards of the year, to be honest. Keep an eye on the VWAP and 24 EMA here, back testing them. So far, it is getting a lot of bearish delta into it. Hope Jack wins. Yeah, Jack has, I think he has a better chance than people think he has. He's on like a 15 fight win streak or something crazy. But obviously he's fighting a demon, so we'll see how it goes. Not seeing a lot of bullish delta off of this VWAP retest. You should be seeing those buyers coming in if they want to hold like a vertical distribution or if they want to hold that pullback, and you're not really getting it. So buyers are pretty weak so far. You can tell it's kind of an overnight fade because when you have an overnight fade, the cash profile is usually like the opposite of the full session, right? Or the overnight. So the overnight is a lowercase b, and now our cash profile is kind of a capital P where it's going against it. So you have a bit of that fade where you're trying to break this overnight. And you've already taken out like probably a little more than half. You swept the overnight low. You took out like this entire chunk right here. Possibly looking for the overnight high. Keep an eye on that around like 162. On ES, that would be about 775. You've also taken out about half of the overnight. You swept the overnight low, taken out that second move down. It's just the first move down. It hasn't retraced. Yeah, Estevan, watch my Becoming an Apex Trader series. It is the third video, I believe. Everybody in here, if you guys have not watched that series is the it's like the #1 series you want to watch to get caught up with everything I talk about on stream. There are 4 out of the 5 videos out. The 5th video is hopefully coming out next week, Wednesday to Thursday. And that will be the final video for that series. Yeah, the whole point of that series is to help you guys understand all these different concepts that I talk about on the live stream. So if anything confuses you, that series will cover it. The only exception, obviously, is the 5th video. The 5th video is the delta and order flow and added stuff. So you have to wait on that one. What was that block trade? Another 1,000 contracts. Most of these block trades are pretty bearish. Another bearish block trade. It's trying to get bullish delta off of this VWAP, but you keep getting these bearish block trades every time it pushes up. Even though the delta is heavily skewed by the block trades, typically when delta trends this aggressively against price, the delta trend does win. So it is pretty bearish here. Keep an eye on VWAP. 706, possibly the prior low. It could be a bear flag in a VWAP. It's just very, it's a sloppy one. It's kind of like breaking above it and trapping it. But you do have lower highs coming in, so the trap is still there. You kind of have that curling effect. What do you mean the volume blocks? You can see the volume already. Yeah, it could be Brian. That's what I talk about in my block trades video, about how the block trades are not always, just because I say bearish doesn't mean it's bearish, just because I say bullish doesn't mean it's bullish. I'm talking about how they come in on the tape. If it comes in red, it's coming in as like a bearish block. If it comes in green, it's coming in as a bullish block. It doesn't mean that it's like a bullish market or a bearish market. I try to break that habit, and I try to say like buy block or sell block, but it's a hard habit to break. Now these blocks are being held bearishly. They're all being protected bearishly. So for now, they are bearish. But it's not something you just blindly follow. You can't just like see a red block and think it's going to go down. A lot of level 2 orders coming in. I actually need a screenshot of that for the series of like a very blue tape. Here is the 30-minute trail at 7:28. You have that obvious P-shaped profile now. They're building up that upper node, trying to protect it bullishly. Very weak upper tail, possibly looking for an extension. They are bouncing off that VWAP damn near to the tick. There are so many bearish block trades. No, Christoph, I don't think I said that. The tape and DOM and order flow stuff is not out yet. That is coming out in the fifth video that comes out next week. There is another series on my channel called Order Flow or something like that, Order Flow playlist, that has some older videos that go over my Addis layout and all the stuff that you can use it for. There's also an older series on there as well that goes over the NinjaTrader layout that is pretty much the exact same layout. It's just on NinjaTrader, not on Addis. I've basically been remaking the same content for like years. I just add like the different versions of it as I obviously learn new things or try new things. So I have older videos on my channel that cover volume profile or order flow or indicators, whatever. And then I make newer videos as obviously new stuff comes out. So the newer video for the order flow stuff is not out yet, but there's like 7 or 8 older videos that are already out on my order flow playlist. No, probably not ordinary. I'm probably the last video is going to be hard to make. I haven't made it yet. I'm trying to gather a bunch of examples because I think the best way that I can do it is by just taking a lot of live examples and kind of covering how to read that pattern when it's happening. Because order flow is something that really has to be done live. So making a video in hindsight is very difficult. But thankfully, I do it literally every single day on the live stream. So I talk about things as they're happening on the live stream. And I have hundreds of them. So hopefully this recap on the last video will be enough. A lot of order flow things can't be taught. They have to be learned through just screen time and kind of staring at these different systems every day, staring at the DOM, staring at the tape. They're not exactly patterns that can be taught. Still seeing a ton of bearish delta. How do I tell if we've seen the lows or highs of day? I don't tell because I don't really care about stuff like that. I don't really try to predict stuff like that. There's no point in trying to predict like, oh, that's the high of day or oh, that's the low of day. You're typically looking way too many levels out if you're trying to do something like that. That goes against like everything that I teach, right? I try to always teach you guys to be more responsive and not predictive, like you're not predicting so much. You want to respond to kind of what the market's telling you. Look at how red the tapes are. Almost entirely red on the smaller tape, almost entirely red on the larger tape. This POC node is mostly bearish delta. Would be the richest person in the world with that info? Yeah, there's just no point, right? Traders always think they have to predict these things, not just like that, like higher day or low day. They think they have to predict so many things out. And that predicting gets them caught, right? It's just greed, right? The only reason that traders do that is because they're greedy. They want to get as much out of their trade as they can and even more. They want to keep getting more and more and more. So instead of like, for example, here, instead of like looking at the value low as a good target, instead of looking at the open as a good target, they're like, I'm going to get low of day. I'm going to go for low of day as a target. And they skip like 5 levels in between because they want to be greedy, right? But if you're being more reactive, you would say, I kind of want to get low a day, but I'll see how it responds to the POC, VWAP, the value low. We'll see if it responds to like the overnight low, whatever, right? You're like waiting and seeing how that delta or volume's coming in, seeing if it's making or breaking your trade. Possibly going for a tail extension here. Lower tail is about 30 points, so if we want to match that, it would have to go around like 50 to 60, 750, 760. VWAP's still being protected here, kind of turning into a bit of a vertical distribution. Here's that upper tail extension, looking for around 50 to 60. I believe that is also where the gap level is, 765. Predicting so much also just really hurts you in your, by the way, keep it on this 30-minute close. 30-minute close, possibly creating single prints back to 729. But yeah, predicting so much just hurts the way you're looking at the market. Like, you're missing things that are happening right now because you're predicting so far out, right? You're like thinking 4 steps ahead without paying attention to 1 step ahead. A great example is like right there when we tested VWAP. If you were looking for like the prior low or like the low of day, you would have completely missed that VWAP test because you're looking past it, right? Single print's going down to 729. Keep an eye on that. Bearish delta's getting absorbed. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of those block trades are not really getting what they want for sure. This is still that overnight fade, so keep an eye on the overnight high and then yesterday's value. Yesterday's value coming up at 46, then we have the overnight high around 76. Overnight high on NASDAQ is 162, so keep an eye on that. We're starting to test that lower value of yesterday, so there's a big POC node on these lows here, a bit of a flip. You tried to flip it earlier around like 4 a.m., and that's what pushed that secondary sell-off. Still getting those bearish block trades on the move up, which, like I said, they're sell blocks. They're not exactly bearish in the sense of where they're pushing the market. They're just coming in as a sell. More so taking liquidity. The amount of block trades today is actually insane. These are all orders over 100 contracts today since the open. There's quite a few. still in that overnight fade. Just keep an eye on those overnight highs. Very early to say, but keep an eye on the 30-minute close. Possibly creating single prints back down to 38. trend is pretty stable, holding above the ADMA the entire time. Watch that overnight high coming up. You do have 15 minutes, it will most likely be creating single prints, so keep an eye on that. Overnight high at 162, getting very close on NASDAQ. You have a bit of a ways left on ES, going up to 775. A lot of single prints going down to 39 in the next 10 minutes. Here comes that overnight high. We're back onto the gap level. Gap level is 765. Overnight high is 75. Still getting those bearish block trades, but it just doesn't matter. They're just grabbing liquidity and continuing higher. Seems like the higher time frame traders understand how bad of a level this is. They really need to protect this daily trail. You're nearly back above it. It has to get back above 788. Nearly an identical candle to last Friday, funny enough. Actually, look at this. This is a weird pattern. Every single one of these candles that led to a bottom are Fridays. This is a Friday, that's a Friday, that's a Friday, and this candle here is a Friday. That one didn't really lead to a bottom, but it was the local bottom. We have a couple of single prints left open yesterday. If we do continue, keep an eye on 78. That would be the lower single print. And then going all the way up to 815. This all started from that 1 minute pivot. There was a 1 minute pivot on the low of day. You started waterfalling into the higher time frames, 30-minute pivot as well. Back above the 30-minute trail at 728. Are we back above the 1 hour? Yeah, back above the 1 hour trail as well. That one's at 754. 4 hour trail is next at 815. You have 5 minutes left. Keep an eye on those single prints down to 39. This node is very quickly being protected by the sellers. You can see it's staying below the what you would consider like the value low of that node. Looks like they're trying to repair this 30-minute candle. Keep an eye on that 39 level. Anything above 39 will create single prints that need to be repaired. They have been repairing single prints for the most part. Yesterday we did leave a couple open, but the majority of them are being repaired. Okay, you do have a lot of single prints going down to 39, so keep an eye on that. They're trying to shift this POC up, which they're only about halfway there. Keep an eye on that 24 here. If it ignores the single prints and bounces off the 24, you're probably going more into a vertical distribution. Couple single prints left open. You need to fill in 4 more. Hey, Zach, have a good weekend, man. I don't really look for TPOs for like the chart patterns, like the P shapes and lowercase b, stuff like that. They don't really form those patterns as well as the volume profile does. This is one of those vertical distribution candles where you put in a lot of bearish delta on the low, but it kind of gets absorbed. We're trying to build up this node, possibly shifting the POC, but the POC had so many block trades earlier. It's going to take quite a lot of volume to move that POC up. Julio, you basically have to like average it out. So just keep trading until it kind of averages itself out. And then you can withdraw it. They have a couple of posts on their forums that are like really in depth that go over all those rules. Yeah, basically just keep trading and it will soon just average itself. Yeah, PL, it's just the block trades. There's so many block trades coming in today that it's skewing the delta, so you can't trust the cumulative delta too much. Yeah, it's usually not reliable if you see way too many block trades coming in or way too many walls being tested. Those two things heavily skew the delta. You can still watch delta on a footprint style, like kind of tick by tick, but the cumulative delta gets pushed around by the block trades a little too much. You have that vertical distribution here because of the, you can see the absorption on the low. You came back down, put in a lot of bearish delta, a lot of volume, but it didn't continue, right? They didn't get what they wanted. Coming up on that overnight high. Keep an eye on that level around 75. If it holds above the overnight high, then the next major level would be the full retrace of yesterday. NASDAQ already hitting the overnight high, so the overnight fade on NASDAQ has been completed. Keep an eye on yesterday's value high around 380 on NQ if it wants to continue. Keep an eye on this 30-minute close. If it keeps pushing in the next 7 minutes, it's going to create singles going down to like 70. Another block trade, 1,500 contracts. Up 100 points off that 1 minute pivot. Getting pretty aggressive here, staying above the ADMA each time. Looks like you might be retracing yesterday's value, so keep an eye on that value high, 380 and 816. You've actually already finished our daily trade plan, so I do need to update these targets. Same thing with NASDAQ. Finishing our trade plan, next target would be that 380. We have more single prints going down to 70 now. I believe we are filling in the lower single prints from yesterday. Let me double check here. We are, yep. So lower single prints are filled in. We still have those single prints going to 815. They're doing their favorite thing where they create new single prints while they're filling in old ones. Immediately filling in these single prints. Keep an eye on 70. Yeah, I believe we're still following that pattern. That pattern is very, very good. And here you can see a great example of that. We finished that retrace right now. So we had an afternoon break yesterday, anything below 780. And then here you go. We just repaired it. And funny enough, I had one line on my chart, right? And this line that I had on my chart, we talked about earlier in the week. There was one afternoon break that was not repaired recently, and it was last Friday. We just repaired it. So repaired. There was no afternoon break there. This just got repaired, and now we just repaired this. That pattern is very, very strong. We don't have like anything left open recently. We are back into that prior gap level, so around 227 on NASDAQ. Keep an eye on that value retrace back to 380. We're about 75% done with that retrace. On ES, that goes back to 816 for the value retrace. There's a pretty big node protecting it, so be careful. There's a lot of resistance right here on that node around like 90 to 800. We are also back into that gap fill. The gap fill was 765, so we finished repairing that gap yesterday with that sell-off. Tried to push away from it today, and obviously we're back into it. So they are protecting that gap fill a little bit here. Yeah, main thing to watch for today, we already finished our daily trade plan for the upside. The next thing would be the retrace. We need to finish that retrace. If we do not finish it, it will be an incomplete auction moving forward. So anything left from the high of day today to that value high of yesterday, that will be an incomplete auction. But hopefully we finish repairing it. I think it will. It's already finished most of it, and it's only 11:30, right? But all right, guys, I'm going to call it there. I will be streaming the rest of the day in Discord. If you guys are not in Discord, enjoy your weekend. I'll be back on Monday, as always. I will be putting out, hopefully, the last video in our series next week. It will be coming out, hopefully, around Wednesday to Thursday. We'll talk about that more next week. But yeah, that's all I got. I appreciate you guys being here. If you guys want to support the channel, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. If you guys are in Discord, I'll see you guys there. If not, I will catch you guys on Monday. If you guys want to support, you can use the code BREW on Apex. I believe there's still a discount. It will always give you a 50% discount minimum. And there's also a Black Friday sale on the website for the Discord, the indicators, and anything that we offer on the website. Black Friday 2025 is the code. No spaces, just all one word. That will give you 40% off anything. And then the annual code, if you want to get the annual Discord, or if you guys were annual members last year and you want to go ahead and resub, there is a 50% off code. It's annual 2025. Also, no space. But all right, guys, I will see you in Discord. If you're not there, enjoy your weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Peace, everybody.